I'm Asuma Katauka and you are watching NewsX World. The US President Donald Trump declared that Israel and Iran have reached a complete and total ceasefire agreement, effectively ending what he called the 12-day war. However, Iran has completely refuted the claims made by the US President Donald Trump and said that no agreement on ceasefire has been reached. Asian shares gained and oil prices were down today as fears of an energy market shock eased following Trump's announcement. In a Truth Social post, Trump said, "Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire." According to Trump, the ceasefire will begin in approximately 6 hours. After both countries complete their final missions, Iran will initiate the ceasefire and Israel will follow 12 hours later. The war will be officially considered over after 24 hours. Trump declared a ceasefire minutes after each side threatened new attacks. Iran launched missile attacks on US military bases in Qatar and Iraq. It was confirmed by the US president that Iran had launched 14 missiles following what he called the obliteration of Iranian nuclear facilities by the US and its allies. Following this, the Iranian foreign minister posted on X that the military operations of Iranian armed forces to punish Israel for its aggression continued until the very last minute. At 4 a.m., while saying that if Israel stops its illegal aggression against Iranians no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, they have no intention to continue our response afterwards. Now we have guests joining us for this discussion. Scott Faulkner, he's head of Eagle Enterprises, a security firm based in Washington. Thank you, Scott, for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. Trump declares a total ceasefire, but Iran denies any agreement. What does this say about U.S. credibility in brokering Middle East deals? And is this a justified ceasefire if only one party has agreed on a ceasefire?
It's all very confusing because there's no documents yet. And as you rightly said, there's announcements from the White House. There's no announcements from the Prime Minister of Israel. There's an announcement from Iran that says that they've not seen anything and have not agreed to anything. So it's very confusing at the moment. I think that the first reality check is going to be whether any additional missiles are being fired by anybody at anybody. If that war front between Iran and Israel goes quiet, then clearly something has moved forward in terms of a ceasefire, but formalizing it, what parameters are, what happens next, all that stuff is still seems to be speculation, except for the posts from the President of the United States. It's very, very confusing at the moment.
And now, how do you interpret this idea of final missions before a ceasefire? Is this just war continued by other means?
It's possible. I mean, I think what's probably the most telling thing in the last 24 hours is that when Iran sent its missiles toward Qatar, they announced it in advance. They allowed the base to be evacuated. All of the missiles were either intercepted. I think one went off course and plunged into the Persian Gulf. So it was more like a symbolic act for Iran to save face. And so having Iran communicate, at least with Qatar, that we were going to do this, it was sort of more symbolic than a real extension of the war. So there's just a lot of interesting things that have been happening, and whether that was their signal to say enough is enough, really it's all speculation until we see documents and until we see a true cessation of activities between certainly Israel and Iran. It looks like the U.S., just their one bombing run is all they've done so far.
And if Iran's response is truly over, is their foreign minister claims, and what happens if Israel responds anyway, like it did with Hezbollah in Lebanon, that they have a cease agreement since November last year, but the attacks still continued. And what happens next in the next maybe 24 to 48 hours, according to you?
Right. Well, this is going to be interesting because the whole point of this is Iran going to continue to be a threat to the region? How many more ballistic missiles do they have? How many more missile launchers do they have? Are they going to continue to support their three client terrorist organizations, Hamas, the Houthis, and Hezbollah? Are they going to continue to say death to Israel, death to America? Are they still going to be training young people to kill Jews? I mean, there's just so many different pieces to this that just simply not firing rockets at each other for a short period of time does not necessarily resolve the entire matter in the region. So the next 24 hours will certainly be telling in terms of, does anyone shoot at anybody? And if not, then what type of discussions occur to de-escalate and create peace in the region? But again, what kind of peace? Because we have three active terrorist organizations funded, supplied, and trained by Iran. Is Iran going to give all that stuff up? I mean, this is really still in the formative stages.
And according to you, do people in U.S. see the UN and Europe as neutral actors or as siding with the West in this conflict, with Germany just calling for de-escalation today?
Yes, I mean, well, again, is Iran going to give up its agenda to destroy Israel? Are they going to give up funding terrorism? Are they going to give up asserting their influence in that region? Are they going to give up a nuclear program? I mean, all these questions have not been resolved yet. So unless all those questions are resolved, even as a cessation of the current what Trump's calling a 12-day war, does not necessarily mean there won't be more war later.
Scott, you will stay with us. We have a breaking news. Israeli military has said that fourth wave of missiles launched from Iran towards Israel as we speak. Now we go back to this discussion with Scott. Scott, thank you for staying with us. What is your take on this? Will there be a halt in ceasefire talks now that there were fresh attacks by Iran again?
Again, it's in this case, since Iran, again, the firing on Qatar was symbolic. If the firing on Israel is probably a continuation of the war. So again, we'll have to see if Israel's going to be able to intercept all of these ballistic missiles. Are there going to be some that fall into Haifa and other civilian locations? Are there going to be casualties? I mean, this whole thing could still be moving forward as a true war between Israel and Iran. And then again, what's the role of America and all that? And so, you know, press releases are one thing, reality is another. And right now it looks like there's two different realities, the press releases and the war itself. And
also Germany calls Iran's strikes calibrated but unacceptable. Is this a mixed signal from key EU player?
Again, I think that there's a lot of people who I would have to say are naive, that think that somehow Iran's going to give up everything that its 1979 revolution is all about. I just don't see that happening. So even if this last round of ballistic missiles that you just referenced, if that's the last round and things go quiet, again, there's just so many parts of the Iranian agenda in that region that unless some of those other issues are resolved, unless Iran actually says we're no longer going to do all of these horrible things to all of these people in the future, this is maybe just simply a way for Iran to try to kind of catch a breath, rearm, resupply, reposition. And again, we're back to the other issue, which was talked about earlier today. Now, did Iran move any of its nuclear material or its equipment either to other locations or even out of the country before the B-2 strikes? There's still a lot of questions that have not been resolved. And unless they get resolved, we are not going to have peace in that region.
And like an hour ago, we found out that Israel has asked their citizens that now they can move out of the shelters or bunkers. So does the fact that Israel has told this to their citizens does that mean the military threat is over, and also now that Qatar's airspace is also open? So what is your take on that?
There's clearly moving parts, and is there a true cessation? I mean, in Israel, people go about their normal business. People go to the beaches. People go about shopping with just simply an eye toward the sky and an eye and their alerts on their mobile phones. So moving out of the shelters right now has been sort of standard procedure for the last 12 days. So it doesn't necessarily indicate any change.
And going back to Germany's stance, do you think Germany or other European states could act as bridge now? And can they do something about this situation still, also Germany and the EU?
Only if they are willing to do a very aggressive and comprehensive monitoring of Iranian activities. To just simply say, everything's fine, let's have a signing ceremony and go back to normal. Normal is Iran helping terrorists. Normal is Iran pursuing a nuclear program, a weapons program, not a electrical power grid program. So unless Iran really does say we're going to change, which means all of these people who've committed themselves heart and soul and their fanaticism to the revolution going back to 1979, they're going to magically overnight say, we're not going to do this anymore, which I just don't see happening. This could be just a ruse. And I'm glad that Europe is concerned. I'm glad that they want to be at the table and try to make things better. But unless there is heavy changes, strategic, fundamental changes in the way Iran views the world and the region, or there's heavy duty monitoring that is allowed everywhere in Iran, this could all just simply be another one of those moments where naive people think everything's wonderful, but reality is going to crash in and kill more people.
Scott, I would like to push on the point that some people are still naive, yes, and maybe in US people still don't know the reality in the Middle East, that Qatar, somewhere which hasn't seen a situation like this in decades. People were panicking in the mall from what we saw from visuals yesterday. How do you interpret the local media in US? How serious are they taking this situation, and people in the media, are they presenting things accurately about the situation in Qatar and with Iran as well as Israel?
Well, again, a lot of I like to say America is probably the most parochial world power in world history. Most Americans don't really focus outside of our borders. Geography is no longer taught in our schools. I would think that if someone had a unmarked world map, most people couldn't find the Middle East, let alone the individual countries you're referencing. So it's there's not that many people in America truly engaged in what's happening over in the Middle East, let alone having any real sense of Shia versus Sunni, Iran versus Iraq war, all the different puzzle parts that go on, the role that Qatar and the other Persian Gulf states play in the region, both in terms of intermediaries with Hamas, intermediaries with Hezbollah, intermediaries with Iran, and the huge American presence. I mean, as you well know, just less than a month ago, Trump was actually at the base that was supposed to have been attacked today. So there's just a lot of, it's a very complex region with a very complex history, and not that many people really understand it, and that's part of the problem as well.
Thank you very much, Scott Faulkner, for joining us. Now we have a breaking news: an Iranian ballistic